Who doesn't want to learn how to do fewer things more successfully? Or in essence, how to determine what's essential and what isn't. And that's what we're going to talk about today on Big Ideas in Books. And this is Yvonne DiVita, your Big Ideas book reviewer. I'm also an author, a blogger, a personal coach, and an avid reader of all books, all manner of books. So today, let's move on to a really fabulous book. I've been thinking about this for quite a long time, and I wasn't sure I was ready to talk to you about it because really it's a small book, but there's so much packed into it. It's very difficult to put it into a short book slide, video review slide. You know what I'm talking about. It is Friday morning and I'm still a little woo. But for today, let's look at this New York Times bestseller, Essentialism by Greg McKeown. It's a systematic, it presents a systematic discipline for discerning what is absolutely essential and then eliminating everything that is not. So you can make the highest possible contribution towards the things that really matter. And isn't that what I just said? What's essential? What matters most in your life? What do you need? What can you get rid of? And how can you figure it out? He says, do you simultaneously feel overworked and underutilized? Are you often busy but not productive? Do you feel like your time is constantly being hijacked by other people's agendas? Let's be honest. We all feel this way. We all have this problem, whether the person who is hijacking our time is a coworker, a colleague, a boss, or a family member. This book teaches you how to recognize that. So what if society stopped telling us to buy more stuff and instead allowed us to create more space to breathe and think? Now, that particular question is relevant, I think, to your dwelling, your home, even your office, but I think more home, because if you can learn to be essential in the place that you live, in each individual room, but maybe start small. Start with the room that you sleep in. I spend a lot of time in the bedroom. That's where I read. I watch a lot of TV. I take frequent naps. And is it essential? Have I created an essential space to be comfortable in? It's a question. I don't have an answer for you. What if we stop celebrating being busy as a measure of importance? So in other words, when your sister calls and says, let's go to lunch, and you say, but I'm so busy, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And are you really trying to convince yourself it's all this amazingly important stuff you're doing and your sister can wait? And, she goes out to lunch with somebody else and she doesn't call you for 3 months and you don't get to see her. I don't know how that works with you, but I think maybe I could put aside some of the things and go out to lunch with my sister. I mean, you have to eat anyway. If you're not eating lunch, then that's another whole story we could get into in another book review, no doubt. Well, but what if we celebrated how much time we spend listening, pondering, meditating, and enjoying time with the most important people of our lives? I really like the pondering and meditating part in there. I'm practicing the listening part, getting better at it. But pondering and meditating helps you learn to listen, because when you're in a place where there's nothing going on and it's quiet and you're alone, you have to listen to your own thoughts. You have to ponder them, and you have to learn to breathe and reevaluate what's essential in your life. So, I mean, what if we did all these things? Indeed. It's the invincible power of choice. So we learn in this wonderful book. This is Greg. He does keynote speeches, and you should hire him. Now, is there a learned helplessness in our lives? I mean, when it comes to the invincible ability to choose, the ability to choose cannot be taken away or even given away. It can only be forgotten. Notice he says forgotten. He doesn't say ignored. He doesn't say whatever else it could be. He says forgotten. Forgotten, that's an interesting word here. Have you forgotten your ability to choose? You haven't given it away. You haven't let it be taken away. You've forgotten it. You have it. Children know this. Children become frustrated as 2- and 3-year-olds when you take that choice away from them. Do they not? Do they not scream and yell? And that's when they start to throw fits, because they have chosen this particular thing that you will not let them have. And they just go crazy about it. Well, maybe we should start going crazy about it. Maybe we should remember that as children, we had those choices taken away from us. As adults, we do not have to do that. We have the power to make the choices. You need to get this book and learn more about that. So I wanted to especially share this. You know, in all of my book reviews, I have certain things that I just feel so strongly about sharing, and this is one of them. From the Greek word school, meaning leisure, that's where the word school, the concept of going to school, was derived. And Sir Ken Robinson, who has some amazing videos on YouTube, you should look him up. He says that instead of fueling creativity through play, schools can actually kill it. And they do, don't they? They want children to be creative up to a certain age, and then they say, stop. What are you doing? Stop. You have to sit here and do math, or you have to sit here and write a report, or you have to sit here and listen to the teacher. And yet, you know, imagination is the source of every form of human achievement. Play becomes essential when you recognize its inherent value of curiosity, exploration, and collaboration. That is from me. The earlier part here in the quotes are from Sir Ken Robinson, and they're included in our book. But I think there's something essential about play when you allow children to use their curiosity to explore and to collaborate. And I will tell you that in our new house, my husband Tom takes the children back into the little wooded area behind us. I mean, it's not like a great big forest by any means. There's a little creek they can jump over, but there's a lot of trees, and there's a lot of things you can do and explore and find back there. And they do it. And it's their curiosity. I want to go see what that is. I think it's a wonderful thing. We encourage it quite a bit. Here's the other part that, you know, people tend to downplay this nighty-night. In reality, there are only a few things of exceptional value, with most everything else being of far less importance, he tells us in his book. The problem with being sleep deprived, so if you're not getting enough sleep, you're sleep deprived, is that it compromises our ability to tell the difference, and thus our precious ability to prioritize. I think that should be difference. Geez, I have typos in every one of my, I just type too fast. But the point here being, sleep will enhance your ability to explore, make connections, and do less, but better throughout your waking hours. So you can do less, but you do it better. And that's where I say naps, naps, naps. And that's where he talks about naps in Google Nap Pods on page 100. And honestly, when you hear that some people can get by with 4 hours, it's not true. It is just patently not true. 8 hours is the minimum that you should be getting. People who get by on 6 hours, I challenge them to try getting 8 hours and see if it doesn't improve. And we left Anne Lamont's link down there, and you're going to find out right now. Why? Because he quotes her in his book. No is a complete sentence. Yes, I love it when one author I read is talking about another author I read. Isn't that just really, really marvelous? And this does come right out of the book, and it does say that you can set boundaries. That is what it's all about. No is a complete sentence. It's very much like when someone pays you a compliment, the answer is thank you. It's not thank you, oh, but. It's just thank you. Now, when we set boundaries, you have to understand that their problem is not your problem. How often do you feel like your Saturday or Sunday is being hijacked by someone else's agenda? We all have people in our lives who tend to be higher maintenance for us than others. These are the people who make their problem our problem. When we don't set clear boundaries, we can end up imprisoned by the limits others have set for us. And I do think it feels like a prison, that we get to a place where we're always trying to do something for someone else. Women do this a great deal, and it's almost because we think that other people are an extension of ourselves, and so we must always take care of them. That is where nurturing big ideas comes from, by the way. It's because women do nurture. However, at some point you have to stop and say no, because you can't do it. Because really, it invades the boundaries that you need to be setting. And it then takes away what is essential in the world or the day or the activity that you're doing. And so you need to learn to set boundaries and say no. I like this part because it's basic math that even Yvonne can do. Yvonne is not a numbers person. However, to attain knowledge, you add things every day. To attain wisdom, you subtract things every day. I don't know, it's kind of hard to figure out just sitting here now thinking about, okay, well, I can add. I have added knowledge by reading this book and doing this book review. Now, what can I take away to have wisdom? I have to think about that. An essentialist produces more, brings forth more by removing more instead of doing more. So read that 3 times fast. You need to be clear about the essential intent. You need to identify the slowest hiker and remove the obstacle. So when it comes to the slowest hiker, he has a story in the book that I think I'm going to read. Yes, there it is. And so it's about a gentleman who is trying to make sense of what he's being taught. And he goes on a hike with his son and some other friends. As the scout leader, it's his responsibility to get all of the boys to the campsite before the sun sets. But as anyone who has been on such hikes knows, getting a group of young boys to keep up a pace is more difficult than it sounds. And Alex soon runs into a problem. Some of the scouts go really fast and others go really slow. One boy in particular, Herbie, is the slowest of all. The result is that the gap between the hikers at the front of the line and Herbie, the straggler, grows to be miles long. Alex finally figures out after a while what to do. He puts Herbie at the front of the pack and lines up all the other boys in order of speed, slowest to fastest. And that's how you remove the obstacle. I like it. So this week we did Greg McKeown's book, Essentialism, on Nurturing Big Ideas book reviews. Hop over to our site, get our short ebook, What's Love Got to Do with It, and learn how love can derail your success. Tune in for more book reviews. We talk about these subjects and more. I invite you to write to me at what'syourbigadea@nurturingbigideas.com. And if you have a book, if you're an author, or you're a PR person who wants to pitch your author to me, please write to me, specifically Yvonne at YvonneDiVita.com, and include the subject line, book review, book for review on Nurturing Big Ideas. And that's how we're going to end up today. We will see you next time on Nurturing Big Ideas book reviews.